I'll start the record. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So again, welcome to the first session of the Friday Study Circle for Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. So here we'll be taking up their teachings. You know, the Master is his teachings. And I hope for it to be a very interactive circle, you know, not just, reading it and moving forward and stuff, but so that we can understand, reflect, share so that we can take it in and put it in practice so that, the transformation that the teachings talk about can really happen. So before we begin, I would request Monica to, just, just say hello and maybe start with the beginning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Taru. So hi to everyone, and good to see at least some of us joining and interested in understanding and reading and reflecting upon words of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. And I think some of us may be already in touch with their words, and some of us maybe it's the first time, but Mother and Sri Aurobindo themselves has said that their words carry a consciousness, they have a force. So whenever we spend time with these words, something is automatically changing. Whether at times, Sri Aurobindo has even said for Savitri that even if you read with a silent and quiet mind, that much is enough. So we don't need the logical mind to come in, although that can be done as well. So I think it's just great to have us together to bring that consciousness and force which is there in these words in our, as Taru was sharing, in our day-to-day lives. Because if the lives don't change, then something is amiss. So it's good that we have been with scripture. Some of us may have been reading these words, but each thought, each feeling, each sense perception of the body, I think it's time now for it to totally be purified. So hoping that our reflections and this collective gathering will take us towards higher and higher light. So before we start, I would request each one of us if we can maybe take a moment of silence and bring the mind either to the mother who have a connection with her, or to the breath, bring the mind home inside the body.
Thank you. So, one of the aim of this session was to introduce new people to Sri Aurobindo and bring them under Mother's grace. And there were some students I had reached out to who said they could not join live, but they would be, they had requested for the recording. So specifically, especially for the one of us who are here for the first time, who are not very familiar with Sri and Mother, I'll be going through the biography, the basic stuff that I know of from Sri Aurobindo's life. Next week, we'll be taking the Mother's, because somehow when we hear the basic stories, we being us, we want threads of association. We want stories because stories have a way of getting into us, right? So although, like I said before, a master is nothing if not his teaching, but still the stories have their significance for the ones who know it well. Thank you. And please feel free to add anytime, feel free to unmute, share. And so I'll just be going through that. So Sri Aurobindo was born in Calcutta in India in 1872. At the age of 7, he was taken to England. His dad felt that, the education there was, is what his sons needed. And he studied there. And after 14 years, I personally find, the duration of 14 years interesting because, how it says that even Rama had the Vanvas for 14 years. So when Sri Aurobindo was gone and when he came back, he suddenly felt that there was a darkness in him, around him, which lifted as soon as he, came back to India. So for the next 13 years, he worked for the Maharaja of Baroda, and he was also a professor in the Baroda College. And how he had missed out on so much of the cultural experience, the literacy, the languages of India. So this was the time it is said that, he kind of prepared himself, learned a lot of languages, including Sanskrit, which really helped him, when he read all the scriptures later on, or I don't know, shortly after this time. And he also joined the Revolutionary Society, the political movement of India, the uprising, the freedom movement against the British. And much of his poetry, that was published much later on from in Pondicherry was written at this time. So, and then Bengal, there was a partition, and then he moved to Calcutta. No, sorry, in Baroda, there was a partition, and he moved back to Calcutta. And there he became a leader of the, one of the leaders of the national movement. And his role, especially in the beginning, was mostly in the back end, like kind of preparing articles. And I think his team, they say, was the first to ask for Poon Swaraj. Because I think under Mahatma Gandhi, it was, kind of a collaboration they were trying for. But then some of the leaders rose up and they said, no, we want full freedom. So he was one of the leaders who said that no, nothing doing, there's no cooperation here. So Poon Swaraj, complete freedom, was basically came under him. And because of his writings, he had also started a newspaper called Vande Matram. And there again, he had mentioned about the independence, and he was acquitted. It was said that he's kind of conspiring against the British government. So I think thrice, one time later on and twice during this time, he was acquitted, but there wasn't anything that was found. So he was not acquitted. Acquitted was later on. So he basically was kind of told that what is the word? I'm sorry. Arrested, arrested, but then he was released because not much no evidence could be found for that. And interestingly, in 1908, he actually was put behind the prison for one full year. And this time was when things changed for him. This was the time when the spirituality, when, the divine basically just came really through him. And after he came out, he spoke about, and there's also a very beautiful book, Tales of Prison Life. It's really beautiful for those of us who haven't read it. He mentioned what all he went through, what the discussions he had with the divine and how it came to him that what he needs to do. So after 1 year, after finding no evidence, he was, released. He tried to, again, he did for some time tried to revive the freedom movement, which was kind of almost, in a very bad condition because a lot of leaders were put behind bars. But then he realized that probably, the world, it said, was not ready for the type of rebellion he wanted. And he then moved to Pondicherry, thinking that he'll come back, and join the freedom movement. But once he reached Pondicherry, he realized the magnitude of spiritual work he needed to do. And then for him, there was no going back. They offered him the position of the leader of the National Congress Party, which was, huge. But he just rejected, and he had wanted nothing to do with it. So again, I think I would probably cut this short, but there, in Pondicherry, there were first, few people, 4 to 5 disciples who had joined him, and then the number kept on increasing and increasing. He did a lot of publications during this time. And then the foundation of the Sri Aurobindo ashram was laid. And during, the 40 years in Pondicherry, he evolved a new method of spiritual practice, which is called as integral yoga. I mean, and that would be a very long discussion, what integral yoga could, or all that it could mean. But basically it was, its aim was the spiritual realization that not only could liberate, our consciousness, but also transform our nature. And among his many writings, he's called the prophet of the life divine. He has written synthesis of yoga, Savitri, and so many texts on different Vedas and Upanishads. And Sri Aurobindo left his body on 5th December 1950. And Mother, his spiritual partner, continued that work until 1973. And the work is still being continued, right? With these circles, with the sessions and everything. Every time we, practice a teaching, I feel that shows that the work is continuing. Thank you. If anybody would want to add anything to it, I know I didn't make it very interesting, but anything at this point, if anybody would like to share. Okay. So, I was thinking that for the first session, if we could focus on the aim of human life. Aim seems such a global word, right? Like, what's your aim? What is my goal? I usually have goals, right? That I'm eating because I want energy. I do this because I'll get that. Everything is a means to an end. So just wanted to reflect on this together. If we are willing to unmute and share that the aims. What is my aim in life? Do I reflect on it often? Because often, there is a universal belief that I have that yes, may this human birth doesn't go waste. But is that showing in my everyday, right? Is that reflected in my everyday? And what are the practices maybe I'm doing so that that aim can be realized? So if anybody would want to, at this point, share what they believe their aim is in this life, or the aim should be, maybe we can take it up from there. If there is any comments, reflections, questions.
The aimless life is always a miserable life. Every one of you should have an aim. Don't forget. Oh no.
Yeah, so how, Vijay just started, this is what I was just wanting to ask, and if somebody wants to read it. So according to the mother, an aimless life is always a miserable life. Mother says that every one of you should have an aim, one of us. But do not forget that on the quality of your aim will depend the quality of your life. Your aim should be high and wide, generous and disinterested. This will make your life precious to yourself and to others. So I think stopping here for right now. So why is it being said that the aimless life is always a miserable life? Because especially in these in today's culture, there is this thing that just go with the flow, right? Like just do what's coming naturally, that one shouldn't really, I don't know, have too many thought, kind of pauses and things just fall into place.
Well, there's a view of human life that's generated from here, from this realm, rather than from the divine realm. There's a view that we experience our life for a large number of incarnations, a large number of lives, and at some point, sooner or later, we perhaps have satisfied in some sense, our exploration, and we make a turn toward aspiring to connection with the divine. And there's a characterization, if we take that as the big picture of the human path, the first half before the turn and the second half aspiring for connection with the divine, then the period before the turn, when one is experiencing life and essentially without a strong connection with the divine, then the characteristic of life is there's some joy in it, but there's a lot of miserableness in it. It seems to be the human condition. So I kind of forget what the question was, but that's what came to mind.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. The question was, but thank you for sharing. The question was that what is, how often do I personally, talking about myself and ourselves here, reflect that why am I doing what I am doing? What am I walking towards? There's a quote, I don't know by whom, where it said that, on average, a person spends more time planning their summer vacation than they do planning their lives. And isn't that true? And if that is true, why is that true? How can we allow that to be true in our lives? We don't know where we came from, technically. We don't know where we'll go. And while we are here, how is it directed? And Rick, what you were saying that reminded me, there's a word in the Upanishads, Dvij, twice born. So it's said that, once you're born, which the birth that we see as, a baby is born, but that's not really a birth, although it is technically. But when one rises, to this thing that, no, what am I doing? I must, like you were saying, bend towards the divine, aspire towards the divine. It's then that you are truly born. So that is when your actual birth takes place. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yes, anybody else, please.
So I think what you were sharing in the beginning, the crux of integral yoga, would also be nice to just put it into perspective for all of us. That I think one thing which is very beautiful with Mother Shri Aurobindo is that they put things in perspective. What Rick was sharing, what you were sharing, that what is my purpose being here? Because if we don't question the socially acceptable purpose, which can be taken from our movies, and all that, mostly at large, the consumerist mind, we will see that everything, if it goes in direction of, okay, me having a property, me having settled marriage, me having a few children, me having some job, some friends, that's what life is. And if I lose my property, that's why they consider it so tragic. Oh my God, what has happened? Because this is implicitly taken to be the purpose of human life. That, okay, are you not settled? Are you not married? No, really? Why are you not married? Why don't you have children? Why? Because we implicitly they take all these things as, that is why we are here. We are here so that we can get married, we can have little happy families, we can have a few children who respect us, admire us, whatever, and some property, some investment somewhere, as you were sharing, able to go for a holiday, so that's considered the purpose of human existence. But very soon, we all of us realize that very soon, after we have ran enough fulfilling all these ambitions, we realize that why is my life still empty? I have everything that I could crave for, but something is missing. Something is missing. And Krishnamurti also said that it is very good to have this discontent in human life, because that tells us, that propels us towards our truer purpose. What a life I would have, that I am very content with a very trivial, menial human life. So it's very good to have a discontent. And I'm sure all of us who are human beings, I'm sure all of us are human beings who are attending today. All of us have this discontent, no matter where in our what stage of life we are. We may be in touch with actually the divine, but there still will be remaining a discontent. Why? Because when we even reflect upon divine is one who is infinite. So although I may feel that I have progressed a bit, if I look at my previous years, I have progressed a bit, but there is much to progress, there is much to progress, there is much to progress. So there is no end to this progress. So even those who have stayed on this path for a long time, being in touch with the divine in some or the other way, moving towards inner and outer perfection, they will also see that there is certain something missing in life. And that's because the divine is infinite. The more we go in prayers and meditations by the mother, she shares, the more I go closer to you, the more you escape me. That's what the mother shares. So that's the beauty, because it's a unending adventure that we are on, all of us. Some of us unconsciously, most of us largely, as Rick was sharing, unconsciously. So Mother and Shri Aurobindo talk about that movement is towards the divine. All of us are moving towards greater and greater perfection in our being, but most of us are doing it unconsciously. Like you shared in the beginning, that by the blows and happenings of my life, oh, something tragic happens and now I have to turn within, something like that. But that's how in ignorance we move. But is now not the time that we move towards it in a conscious collaboration. All of us are at such a stage. I'm sure if we are attending this session, no one is at a stage that we have to get, all the blows and life happenings have to happen in such a way that we are pushed towards the divine. Those things have happened in our life. Now the journey is to keep at it and not to get swayed. So crux of integral yoga with Mother and Shri Aurobindo, which Taru was pointing at in the beginning, is Shri Aurobindo says, Mother says that the light has hidden itself into darkness. And it's a conscious collaboration now that light has to come forward and all darkness has to transform in the figure of light. So what does it mean? Thoughts have to become purified. Day-to-day thoughts, each thought must pass in the front of this divine ideal that I have in me. Is this a perfect thought? Is this a beautiful thought? Is this worth taking off forward? Feelings, Aurobindo says, feelings has to be transformed. All the feelings have to be purified. Now we will see, if we look at our feelings, many of them are full of ill will, not wanting good for the other person, selfish, very constricted. All that have to pass this inner ideal, and they have to turn to purity, perfection in the face of divine, in the image of divine. Sense perceptions, thinking, logical mind. So earlier, before this yoga came, integral yoga, Aurobindo says that it was the only escape route. Rick was pointing at the human misery. So he says, Aurobindo says that the only escape route that was there earlier was, okay, my spirit unites with the divine. In my meditation, I unite with divine. That's it. Because there is nothing I can do about this worldly life. This is supposed to be misery. But Mother and Aurobindo are giving us a different picture, which we see is practical. What is it? Unite with the divine within first. That's the first step of their yoga. Find the divine within first. Why first step? Because then it's a very safe journey. Then the inner divine will tell you the unfolding of your life. And for each one, unfolding is different. Each one has a unique unfolding. So what may be right for you is maybe not right for you. You have a different path to follow. You may be coming from a path of devotion. I may be coming from a path of, jnana or knowledge. So each one has a different unfolding. That's why there is no formula in this yoga. And we can only read, reflect upon these words. First, find the immanent divine within. Connect with the immanent divine within. Silent the mind, still the mind, so that the divine voice can be heard. That direction can be heard. And then what we were discussing, all the thoughts, feelings, actions of the day-to-day life, even the most mundane, eating, sleeping, meeting a friend, having this discussion, all that has to be transformed like a conscious sacrifice towards the divine. Nothing has to be kept for my own little self. Nothing. So that's the crux of the integral yoga, and ultimately moving on to physical transformation, that this body, which so beautifully now can hide whatever is going on inside, it will become transparent, it will become luminous in the image of divine. But see, now the body cannot become immortal right now, because the way we are, egoistic consciousness, imagine what will happen if all this ill will and bad desires that we have, and wanting always for my limited little self, imagine what will happen if this becomes immortal. So good that we die and we are not immortals yet, because first the psychic being has to come in front, the soul consciousness, the immanent divine has to come in front, take the charge of the being, not the ego consciousness. Thoughts have to be purified, feelings have to be purified. Then Mother says the last comes the physical transformation. The last, and she has seen the new race, she has seen the physical form. Mother talks about in her agenda also, that this is how luminous that body will become, the one in the image of divine. So that's the little picture of integral yoga where it is supposed to take us. But the first is, we cannot do without this step, to find the immanent divine, the Godhead dwelling within us. Have we found that? And if we have not, all our efforts and energies must be focused there. And Mother gives, actually, we can take it up at some point, Taru can take it up, these 11 points that Mother talks of, journey towards the psychic being. When you eat, all your thoughts must be focused that may this eating or may this food give me that energy for self-discovery. Then Mother says, when you are sleeping, then may the sleep refresh me, rejuvenate me for self-discovery. So all the attention, again, we were talking of aim. Now this has become this ingathered aim in my life. that I want to find out. They keep on saying there is a divine within, but I don't have it. I want to find it. If we don't want it, we will not get it. It's not going to happen like, want it in the morning, but in the evening there are other things that are more important than finding the divine within. That's why it doesn't happen. So I would request Taru, maybe, someday we can take these points up, journey towards the psychic being. So just a short, not that short. This is a problem with me. When I speak, better stay muted. Yes, Taru, please go on.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was, a very beautiful synopsis of so much put very shortly. Although you said it's long time, but it wasn't. So any sharings, reflections, comments at this point?
So is there anyone here who is getting in touch with Mother Shri Aurobindo for the first time? The one who are present live? I think we are already a bit in touch, all of us. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, it's beautiful.
When you were sharing, how, what if we were to give an immortality being what we are? I remembered so many stories that I have heard while growing up that, Shiva, Lord Shiva, who's called Bholenath, the innocent one. Like people would pray to him and he would give them immortality. And then the other god would have to come together and think of different ways in which now that Asura can be killed. Because otherwise, if he is immortal, how would it work? So, it's thank God that we are not anywhere near that right now. But how and when it comes, no one knows. And, when you said that how the evolution, obviously, the transformation is already happening, right? Like how they say we were stones and then the plants, then animals, how it all came. And yet, how Shri Aurobindo says that the conscious merging, the conscious desire to be united or the aspiration to be more than the ordinary, can I personally, saw it first time, I would say, is when I was asked to breathe consciously, right? Like I have been breathing my whole life. But the first time when I did yoga and, it's not a big thing. And yet it stuck with me that when I was asked that, okay, now close your eyes and pay attention to your breath, the amount of energy I felt in me, that I feel is very symbolic, that I breathe 24/7. But the two breaths, if I take, when I am going somewhere where I don't need to go, when I'm about to say something which I don't need to see, everyday life, small, small things, if I pause and if I just, and for everybody, there would be different things. If I take that 1 or 2 breaths, I realize that when I'm consciously doing the same thing which I have done millions of times, the power it has. So imagining this again, that the evolution is already, transforming. But if I say, yes, I'm with you, I do what needs to be done. I don't think it needs much intelligence to imagine how we can, kind of how progressive it would be for ourselves and, for consciousness in general. So I think that's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I also wanted to, just spend 2 more minutes on the aims that we actually have in our life, right? Like how it's like from one role to the other, right? When I'm a child, okay, I'm supposed to study, get good grades, then, college, good education, job, marriage, kid, 1 kid, 2 kid, house, like you were pointing in the beginning. But do I ever stop and think, what are these aims giving me, right? What are these accomplishments, these desires, these, I don't know, these things that we are told we must have? What have they actually given me? Does it ever stop And you know how people say, oh, very good, you're settled. Oh, very good. Now you have that university degree. It feels that I'm getting some fake money every time I accomplish something. And there is nowhere where I can go and cash it, right? What do I actually get by after getting all that? Oh, very good, very good, very good. It's just, okay, now you have to do this, right? Like, I don't know, find it funny how the carrot is always hanging in front of us. And we always just keep postponing. But, mother says that time for yoga is right now, because when everything you have already spent, what will you give me? Yeah, so just we must again and again and again reflect on what my aim is and make sure that I'm doing something, even a little bit, even that consciousness, that 5 minutes or 2 minutes of just thinking once a day or once a week or once a month, that what am I doing and where is this taking me to, and do I want to be there? I have a choice. We always have a choice. We might choose not to choose or make that choice. But no matter how what we tell ourselves or others, life, I don't know, has shown us again and again, I do have a choice. So if I can choose, why not choose the highway? Yeah, pausing for a minute in case anybody wants to unmute and share. This is from the mother. So here, it's her own handwriting. So here she says that there is a purpose in life, and it is the only true and lasting one, the divine. Turn to him, and the emptiness will go. Blessings, Mother. In this whole article, which basically, talks about the true aim of life, why are we on earth? It's like, it's really strange if we think that why are we not thinking about this more, right? That why are we on earth? Why are we on earth? Again, we come from somewhere, and death right now is my certainty. I don't know where I'll go. I am so skeptical and conscious and well planned for my week, for my month, for my, I don't know, people plan vacations 10 years in advance, especially in the West. I'm sorry, I find that hilarious, but moving on. But I don't know, why am I here, right? There has to be a purpose, that I come from nowhere, I go to nowhere, and I'm here, and I'm here. Is this a question I ask myself? And if not, I better start asking. So coming back to this, why are we on earth? To find the divine who is in each of us and in all things. Again and again in different words, Mother repeats this. She has repeated this, almost her whole life, especially after coming to Pondicherry. Only one thing is important. It is to find the divine. For each one and for the whole world, anything becomes useful if it helps to find the divine. How Sri Aurobindo says, by your stumblings, the world is perfected. But again, as long as the aim is a worthwhile one, everything is allowed, everything is okay. All mistakes, all falls, all stumblings are good if they're taking me closer to where I want to be. So life is meant for seeking the divine. Life is realized when finding the divine. Let this be our one need in life, to realize the divine. The individual self and the universal self are one. In every world, in every being, in each thing, in every atom is the divine presence. And man's mission is to manifest it. I think this touched upon, Monica, what you were sharing before, that how everybody, feels there's darkness outside, but there's light inside. And what a worthwhile life if we can work on getting that light outside. Yeah. Anything from anybody?
So Mother, gave one more word for the divine, how to understand this, what Mother is sharing, that find the divine. And there were, I think, some Russians who asked the Mother while Aurobindo was being born in India. And they say that we don't connect with the word divine. So some of us may have heard that anecdote, and she gave another word. She said that, okay, do you connect with perfection? And they said, yes, we connect with perfection. So she said, divine is perfection. And perfection, not, in the terms of how obsessed we are, because we have ideas about perfection, right? So if I'm working in the kitchen, my idea of a perfect kitchen is something different, which is at clash with somebody else's idea of a perfect kitchen, right? And that's why we are always at clash in the kitchen, mostly, some of us. But that's not what Mother meant. Mother meant that perfection in thought, and how to understand what Taru has just shared, that to find the divine within and to live by the divine within. So one of the ways to understand is that there is a light of consciousness in each one of us. So whatever is being said right now, that light is knowing it, that light of consciousness. All of us right now know what is the state of my inner being. We have that knowing in us. How am I feeling in the body? Is my leg aching somewhere? Is my feet aching somewhere? So there is a knowing because of which we know things. That knowing, that consciousness is the light of consciousness, the divine consciousness that all of us have. And in human beings, it is very active. It's like right there in front. In a stone, it is asleep. You can't really we touch the stone, we think it is dead. So consciousness is absolutely masked there in matter. But through the eons of toil of nature, as initially was shared, from a stone came a plant. When you touch a plant, you think, yes, some consciousness is there. It's a bit more conscious than a stone. So that's how nature has been toiling for eons and eons, to make consciousness come in front. Look at an insect, look at an elephant, look at a dog. You would see consciousness more alive there. Like, yes, it is there. We can't say it is dead. So in a grain, in a piece of rock, consciousness is just completely masked and under matter. It is still there. But that's why in India, we can even worship a stone. We know that there is God present there. There is divine there. We invoke that divine. It is not visible, but it is there. But in human form, it is visible. You would see some people, some little children specifically, they have such a light in their eyes that that they have some presence. That's the psychic presence Mother talks of. So everything of our day-to-day life has to pass in front of this light of consciousness. So what you were talking about, being conscious of breathing. Now the consciousness is looking at breathing. Earlier it is just mechanical pattern happening. We don't even know, half alive, half dead. We don't know. Breath is just happening. So being alive with the breathing, and again looking with that consciousness at our thought and checking the quality of thought. Actually, Mother talks about this, that everything must pass in the front of this ideal. That is this a thought, purified thought? And only those must be allowed which are in alignment with your inner truth. Is this going to benefit anyone. Sri Aurobindo talks about even a word spoken from your mouth. Think about it. Is this going to benefit anyone? Only that word should be spoken. So the more we tune, what you were sharing, the more we tune in with this consciousness within us, which all of us have, the more we begin to live in alignment with the divine within. So that's what would mean what we were sharing on the screen, that to live in alignment with the divine, to find the divine and to live in alignment. We are in touch with the divine. It's not that we are not given glimpses, but we forget because the sleep of the matter is so great. And we allow many intruders in our life, day-to-day life, and life becomes misery. We wonder after 2 hours, why am I feeling so miserable? Because we have been indulgent in the forest of thought, which were really thoughts of ill will, impurified thought. So no wonder that we feel so drained after 1 hour, plunging into those thoughts. So if we have to plunge, why not in our empty times bring the mind either to breath, home, which is the body. Body is the home of mind. So when it is in the forest of thought, it is lost. So bringing the mind home in the body with the breath consciousness, or as Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about, centering the mind on a divine name. So if I'm not doing anything, if I'm driving, beautiful time to spend, while we are driving, remembering Mother's name. Rather than thinking of all scattered thoughts, I can go into past, future, what will happen of my present happenings, all that worries. Center your mind on the Mother's name. Center your mind on Sri Aurobindo's name, or any divine form that we resonate with. So this stilling of the mind, quietening of the mind is one of the first steps to get in touch with the divine presence within, because the divine presence is not gone anywhere. It is masked under the clamor of the mind. If I want to know what the divine will is in my life, I have to cut down the noise. And one of the ways of cutting down the noise is centering ourselves on the divine name. So if we are doing nothing, we better stick with Mother's name. Because as was in the mantra, Om Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi Parme. This is the mantra for Mother. Anandamayi, the one who is the giver of bliss, true delight, true joy. Chaitanyamayi, the one who is the giver of true consciousness. Consciousness full of force, empowerment. And Satyamayi, the one who is the giver of truth. Now, who does not want all these things? These 3 things promised. All of us want it. So I think, again, we were talking of an urgency that is there, that very urgent that a few of us become pure gold, as Mother says, and purify the mind, center our mind, still the mind, so that the divine will can be heard and we can walk according to that.
Thank you so much. I see 2 places where I often go. One is either everything just feels fine, right? And the other is that I feel that, oh my God, nothing would happen for me. I'm so full of, I don't know, so many weaknesses. The journey seems so long, the destination or the aim feels so far. And yet, things like, say, the miracles that happen around me, like a small seed give rise to a tree, right? The tree is in the seed. It's not a new example, right? But do I wonder how miraculous it is, right? If I was to tell a child, and when we tell children that, a tree, say, a huge banyan tree, I don't know if you've been to Aurobindo, there's this, I don't know, and everywhere else too, even a simple, thin tree, and we look at the seed. Logically, if I say, okay, use your mind and tell me, is this possible? I don't think he can say or she can say, yes, it's possible. They can say, I can bet my life on it that this cannot happen, right? Like this seed, and look at that tree. So I think the same thing, when I look at, say, a Nanak, when I look at a Kabir, when I look at any other avatar, I feel that they are different, right? That's a huge banyan tree, but I am good for nothing. But I am also a seed, and if it can happen for them in the human form, that just proves, how in Vidar, again, using a mind, we say everything, hence proved, hence proved, hence proved. Hence prove that that is my potential. But do I even believe that, right? I just say, no, no. Mostly I say that, right? That they are, they are not human. They never were. But is that true? Or is it just me playing games and, kind of distracting my own self and becoming my own ball? Because more often than not, how you were sharing about becoming one with that movement, becoming consciously available for that evolution. The truth is that we are not even neutral, right? The thing is that we are always just fighting all the changes. If somebody says, okay, no, this is not good, I say, no, but this is how I am. This is my pattern. This is my personality. If you don't like me, go. But I would not take a moment to wonder that, oh, I have been living like this or I react like this. Does this needs to be changed? Is it working for me? Is it good? Is it kind? I don't. I just being justifying myself, I often become my own wall and stop my progress because again, how mother says that the aim of life is not happiness. That's what the world tells me, right? That do this, you will be happy. Do this, you'll be happy. House, car, children. Again, we're just repeating the same thing. But she says that, of course, that's not the aim of life. The aim is, again, evolution, the consciousness, becoming conscious of who you are, merging with the divine, aspiring for the divine. That that is the aim of life. Yeah. Yeah. Any reflections? Yes, Ritu.
Yeah, Taru, the thing you shared about the mother, her writings, that was quite beautiful. It feels very nice to hear them and read them. Like an aimless life is a miserable life. So I know that yes, when I look back, that my life is quite mundane. I've been doing the same thing over years and years and years in the same grind. In fact, even Osho said once, if you observe yourself for a day, if you write it down, how your past day was, you will probably not do the same things again. Because, when we look back, we see we're looking like more like a donkey, doing the same things again and again. But then when I want to look forward, okay, yes, I know that my current life is not giving me as much um, peace or I'm not feeling accomplished by what I have been doing till now. But when I ask myself, okay, so what should I do? So like you shared on the screens, that look for the divine and seek the divine and be conscious of your breath and practice and mantras. I start doing them. Like for a month, I would sit in the morning for 10-15 minutes and then maybe do a little bit of physical yoga or something like this. So, with the regular activities in life, we get to know that yes, we have accomplished something. Like we finish our school, we get a certificate. Finish our college, we get a certificate. We take up a job, we get a monthly salary or some appraisal. So there are measurable things which we get when we are doing these regular stuff.
But when we are trying to find out our own, the divine in us or our purpose in life, I mean, it's difficult to say that, okay, am I progressing? Am I actually moving on the right path? Maybe I'm just doing it uh, and not getting anything out of it. So how do I measure that, okay, the path which I am thinking I'm taking now is actually the right one? I know the current path is not right, but I don't know whether the past path was not right, but don't know whether the current path which I am thinking is going to help me go and lead a better life, more purposeful life, whether that is okay or not, because it's not tangible.
Yeah, lots and lots of, responses, I think, for that. How when we talk about truth, right? We say that, the whole probably Vedic philosophy, it's based on neti neti, right? Like not this, not this. That is one way of looking at it. That, like you said, I know this is not it, right? So that is one thing, right? That, okay, maybe let me try the other one. Let me try the other one. This is not it. This is not it. And then you realize that where you are going, the paths may seem all this different, but the direction is the same. So then you stop going towards that path altogether, going towards that goal altogether. I think that's one thing. And again, in the morning also a very similar question. In the morning we had Friday study circle on Indian time, and there, Monica, would you like to share what you had shared in the morning? How that after, it's not a mental thing, right? That we think that, okay, like people ask this question that what will happen after liberation, kind of a thing, right? That you have to do it to know it. It, like, that seed and that tree example shows that how incapable my mind is of seeing other than the obvious. So I'll have to do it to even see that how am I feeling in my heart, right? Is this expanding me? So I have to be experimentative, but for that, first I have to be a bit empty. Right. So in the morning, we had used this example that if I really want to write, I really feel I should write, it would be beautiful. But I have a cigarette in my hand and I cannot leave that cigarette. I'm a chain smoker. So even if I get so many encouragements and there's so much capability there is in me, I won't be able to write a line in my life because I could never keep this cigarette down. So for me to be able to write, I needs my hand to be empty. So at least first, if I drop the thing which I know is not working for me, I have a potential of finding something which can work for me. And when there is this calmness, which they say is the first step towards realizing anything, we get directions, right? We get that thing when we connect to the inner center, how Monica was sharing, that is the first step, connecting to the divine within in whatever capacity we can. And the more still we are, of course, right? It's very logical also, right? That if so much noise is in my head, I don't hear this beautiful, kind of that light music. But as soon as say I can right now hear chirping of the birds, behind you because it's morning time there. And there's not much traffic. But during the day, the chirping is not heard that much, right? Because there are other sounds. So it's mostly like that. So there were more thoughts, but I don't know. Monica, would you like to add to them? Thank you.
Yeah. So mother says that you cannot have a new life unless you are disgusted with your old life. So many a times we are not disgusted. That's the thing, that it still is serving some purpose in the old way of living, as you were sharing. So although I am seeing that it is a donkey kind of a life, but somewhere it must be serving a purpose. Now one day, it has to be one day, One day when you feel that just enough, not that life anymore. I've really tortured myself enough living this life. So that disgust has to develop with the old ways of living. And it's not the activities of the daily life that will have a change much. It is the consciousness with which the activities are done. So mother says, somebody asks the mother that what is my true purpose in life? I want to live the true purpose. She says that before you get to the true purpose, which is not easily, you can't just get to it like, pocket mein haath dala and in the pocket lies your true purpose. Not like that. Because so much chatter is there, so much, as Saru was sharing, I'm holding on to so much which I think is still benefiting me. Now I feel the cigarette is still benefiting me. I still need it. Now I can't put the same hand in the pocket to get the pen out, with which I want to write. So mother says that before you get to the true vocation, which is the true mission of each one of us, each one has a mission. Each one, no matter how ordinary we are, how ordinary, how unworthy we seem ourselves to be, all of us have a mission to fulfill, no matter in a little sphere of life, but we have a mission to fulfill. Now to get to that mission, how would the stages be? Mother says each task of your life that you are doing, whatever temporary vocation you have, let's say temporary job, okay, I don't know what is my true calling, but at least I have a life right now. Each action of your life you do with a sense of servitude to the divine. Mother, I am doing it this for you. So you cook in the kitchen, you go to the factory, you interact with the person. Mother, this I offer to you. Mother, this I offer to you. Mother, this I. So each act is a conscious yagna being performed, a conscious sacrifice. Then slowly, when we live a life in this right attitude, and you were talking about that it is not tangible, it is tangible, you will see. When we live a life always wanting, asking, isse mujhe kya mila, what did I get out of it, then we live a life of misery. Have you seen that? It's tangible. And when you, even for one moment in the day, you offer your kindness without wanting, you sense that expansion within. So this is tangible. The shift in our consciousness is a tangible shift. We all know that misery that is caused by self-obsession on our egoistic self. We all know that. We have tasted that misery, haven't we? And we have also tasted that, the sense of gratitude, a sense of liberation within, when we are doing an act, but we are not wanting anything through that act. So we have that sense of expansion, which Taru was pointing at, we have that. It's not intangible. So the point is that I must live a life in such a way before the true vocation happens to me, true mission of my life is unfolded, in such a way that each point of time, I am very sensitive to, whether is it expanding me, this act, this spoken word, this, the action, the interaction in my life, is this attitude with which I am living expanding me? Is too much focus on me and myself expanding me? Is this giving me delight? Is this giving me freedom? Or is it suffocating me further in myself? Because we see very clearly, I see very clearly in myself, whenever my focus goes to me and my unfulfilled desires, me and my unfulfilled demands, how miserable I become. I know. I have a taste of that. So Aurobindo says that to walk on this path, every moment is a conscious choice. We've never will a stage in my life, at least this lifetime, we can be sure, never, in the sense this complete reversal is not that easy, that you become the divine. And even we were sharing in the last session only, Friday study circle, that with Champak Lalji, who was so very close to mother, very close to mother, served mother and Sri Aurobindo for more than 25 years. When he's almost, on his deathbed, towards that time, when he's aging, somebody came to him, and somebody had lost photo of mother, which was very dear to Champak Lalji. Now, when he heard that, oh, this photo is not traceable, we can't find the photo, a dark cloud came over him of anger. But the good thing with experience, the more practice that we do, what he was able to do is he was able to brush it off. He knew that that's not a divine movement, it is an anti-divine movement. And then he says that, oh, I have lost so many things in my life, one more. So just shaking it off his shoulders rather than being overpowered by that dark cloud. So each moment we have this choice that we can make, whether to be dictated by the ego consciousness, which is always wanting, 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 wanting. If I surrender, what will I get out of surrender? That's also ego consciousness. I am surrendering because surrender is joy. Being with the mother gives us delight, joy. It is comforting. Parallel, it happens in parallel, not that after surrender, what will the mother give me? When you are in that mode, that mother, I offer this work to you. Mother, I'm cooking, I offer this food to you. It gives us joy, the delight, simplicity. So we have to, I think, develop a new taste in life of less complication and more simplicity. Because being in ego consciousness is a lot of entanglement. We see that, so it is tangible. If you see that, you will see that how much entanglement and misery being in egoistic state gives. To lose a taste for that entanglement. So Champaklalji lost that taste, we can say, because he did not feel easy when he was going into the darkness. He did not feel easy. Something was amiss. So he was easily able to come back to the mother. So mother also talks about, when she talks about getting in touch with the divine within, she talks about this unease that we have to get sensitive to. You should feel very uneasy when an ill will is arising in you. Feel very uneasy when a selfish thought is arising in you. So that unease gives it back, like puts it back on the right track. Then we are not easily lost. Again, there will be things which will be overwhelming, but we will always find our way to the simplicity and lightness. So yeah, I wanted to stress upon that it is tangible.
I have a different response to a different part of what you expressed, Ritu. And that is, at times I get into doldrums, or what am I doing, or this isn't working, or whatever. And one of the ways I get out is I just keep trying different things. I go for gratitude, or I go for generosity, or I go for meditating this way, or I go for meditating that way, or I go for reading this, or I go, no, not that, reading something else. I just keep trying, just keep at it, just keep banging away. And sooner or later, I'm back into a good zone.
Aditi here. I just wanted to share what I struggle with is I do a good job for a week, for 2 weeks, but it's so easy to get sucked into your regular life, so you just have to consciously keep trying. And yeah, I think that's what I feel. And I really resonated what you said, Rick, just listening to different things, or, as you said, like practice gratitude or just being grateful, because a lot of the time we are always like, as you said, like, what's in it for me, but not all the time. Like, it shouldn't be about that, right? It should be just, being present, and being more mindful. And I think, but it's hard though. It's very easy to get sucked back into your habits, and it takes a lot of effort. So I'm really hoping that, I can be part of the circle, and, keep bringing myself back whenever I start, wavering. So this is good. Thanks, Taru.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? I have like this issue with, what we call regular life and what we just say that, okay, no, these are just some things that are there in the air, but that's not my regular life. I think we must reflect on that, right? That, when birth is real, death is real. When death happens, when something drastic happens near me, I move, right? People go into shock. They feel, oh my God, what has happened? And slowly they start telling themselves, that was a one off, right? Like it won't happen to me. But if death is real, why are miracles not real? Why is faith not real? Why is having a aim that one has to become divine can't be real? And if it's not real, I must, like you said, like getting, coming to more things, doing more things like this. I must do everything in my capacity and more to make this real too. And slowly I would have to stop trying. Then I'll have to try to go there, and I would want to be more here. So I just wanted to share that before we end. And before we end, just one small thing from, the sunlit path, just maybe one paragraph so that we can leave it on this note. The great adventure, if we can just read the first paragraph, if anybody is willing, they can unmute and read this, and then we'll call this a session. So this is from Sunlit Path by the Mother. Thank you, Rick.
We are
great-
in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see who else spoke. Whoever wants to, if they can please read.
Rick, go ahead, please.
Thank you. The Great Adventure. We are in a very special situation, extremely special, without precedent. We are now witnessing the birth of a new world. It is very young, very weak, not in its essence, but in its outer manifestation. Not yet recognized, not even felt, denied by the majority. But it is here. It is here, making an effort to grow, absolutely sure of the result. But the road to it is a completely new road, which has never before been traced out. Nobody has gone there. Nobody has done that. It is a beginning, a universal beginning. So it is an absolutely unexpected and unpredictable adventure.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. So just wanted to, like how even the discussion was that how do I do it, right? We don't know. We all have our own journeys. It's different for all of us. And, we say we love thrills, excitement, vacations and everything. And here Mother says that there is no adventure like this adventure. So next week, we'll take up this passage from the Sunlit Path, among other things. Thank you. And Monica, if you could please end the session with the sharing of the book.
I have
Yes,
a-
it is. Yes.
I have a request. Is it possible to get the recordings of this Zoom meeting we had today? And
Yes,
in future,
absolutely. Yeah.
where are you going to post it?
If I don't know, we can make a group. We can make a WhatsApp group. I can post
That will
it
be
there.
great. Yes,
Yeah, if you
that
can
will
share
be
your number with me, if you want to be included in the group, anybody, whoever wants to, I can make a group and thank you.
sure. I will get your number and then, I will send you WhatsApp and we can start with that. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So just taking a moment to share all the merit from the session today with all the sentient beings. May all of us go towards greater and greater light.